That's what I get for trying to take a thumbnail. Today we're going to talk about the PILEA Cadierei, or Catarae. Catarae or Catarae? Cadierei. Cadierei? Cadierei? Catarae. We're just going to say Catarae, and you can correct me in the comments if you need to, because vowels are hard. So this lovely plant is also known as the aluminum plant. I think this plant has gained a lot of popularity lately. I've seen them a lot more in nurseries. More people are knowing what they are. I've had my plant for well over a year now, so I've seen it go through its season. So we'll talk a little bit about its care and any potential troubleshooting you might have. So when you hear PILEA, the first plant you probably think of is the PILEA peperomioides, which is very different in looking from the PILEA cadierei. This guy, as you can see, has smaller leaves that have a silver variegation along the top and has a much more upright growing structure. I know they're native to north parts of Africa, and they tend to be ground lower living species, so they don't typically require a lot of light. However, in my experience, I have found that putting it in a very low light situation, they stretch. I put mine directly under a grow light, and I noticed a lot more improvement in the growth structure. When I had it off into maybe a foot away from the grow light, it did stretch a lot and it did lean quite a bit, and I was constantly cutting it back in order for it to not lean over into the other plants. So although it probably could survive in a low light condition, you would get a much more leggy looking plant versus having a more compact and foliage forward plant in a brighter situation. I do find these plants love to be watered, but you wouldn't want to overwater them very much like any other tropical plant. The great thing about this plant is that it shows signs of needing water that can very easily forgive you once it's been watered. They droop and hang quite significantly when they're thirsty, so you know right away to give them water, and pretty quickly they'll perk back up. If you want to decrease the amount of times you water, you probably would want to use a more water retaining soil mixture, maybe a peat based mixture or a sphagnum based mixture, in order for it to retain the moisture a lot more, but it's probably not completely necessary. Just keep in mind a more higher draining substrate would require you to water it a lot more often. As far as fertilizing goes, I feed mine with a plant food that is a basic organic plant food. You could use a balanced fertilizer, but I would dilute it or keep the NPK levels fairly low because it's not really the heaviest feeder, although because it is a fast growing plant, you still want to feed it, depending on the fertilizer you use, as frequent as every watering or every other watering. Great options for that would be worm castings or a gentle organic plant food. As far as any type of pest pressures, they do get the typical pest pressures like spider mites. Your biggest concern would probably be fungus gnats. Since they do like to have a somewhat moist substrate, you will probably see a lot of those little boogers flying around. Now, propagating is fairly easy. I have had almost 100%. I'm trying to talk too fast, and apparently the words just fall out of my mouth without making any sense. Propagating, I have had probably close to 100% success rate, if not 100%. It has been a very easy plant for me to propagate. When I first had my plant and I had it in a fairly low light situation, I did mention how it started to get very leggy and long, reaching for the light, to the point where the internodes were becoming pretty significantly long, a good 4 to 5 inches. So I decided to cut it back and to just place the stems back into the soil. And I don't think I had a single one rot or die on me. They propagated, they grew roots, and I was able to make this much more full. You will see a significant amount of leaf shedding on this plant. I have had a lot of just leaves dry up, maybe from too infrequent of watering, I'm not really sure, but it's been a very organic process of leaf shedding and the new leaves growing. I feel like I've definitely had more leaf growth than I've had shedding, but it's just something to keep in mind if you don't want it too messy of a plant. But temperature wise and humidity wise, they will thrive and live perfectly fine in average household temperature and humidity. So if you're comfortable, more than likely this guy will be comfortable too. I wouldn't let them be in too dry of a condition because they are somewhat of a tropical plant. So if you have extremely dry weather, if you live in the desert, you might want to supplement the humidity a little bit. But what I love about this plant is just how easy it is to take care of. I often forget about it because it requires so little of my attention, and when I notice it's drooping, I know I need to water it, and here he is. One last thing to keep in mind, this plant is toxic to pets, so I would not put this in a place where your cat likes to nibble or your dog likes to dig. And as it grows, it will let you know if it needs a repot. The roots can be rather aggressive in here, so check the bottom and see if you have any roots growing out, and if you do, it's time for a larger pot. But I don't think there's really anything else I can say about this plant. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, it's pretty simple, and it's pretty. And it's a great one to add to your collection if you like pileas, and I like pileas a lot, so it's in my collection. I don't know why I do these things. But that's all I'm going to leave for you today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have any tips, drop those in the comments too, because we all like to share. Sharing is caring, and we all appreciate it. Thank you again also for watching all the videos. I've been having a lot of great feedback from you guys, and I really, really appreciate it. Just continue to like and subscribe and comment or share or do whatever you do with YouTube videos, because it obviously means a lot and it helps a lot, and it's free. You don't have to do anything but just click a button, you know? It helps. So thanks. A lot. Like a lot. I'll talk to you guys all in the next video. Bye!